The finale of Stranger Things Season 3 left us with far more questions than answers, and considering that Season 4 is still in the process of filming due to delays caused by the global health situation, we'll have to wait a little bit longer to satisfy our Hawkins cravings. The Duffer Brothers have, however, answered one incredibly important question for us fans, which is that there will indeed be a Season 5 of the popular science fiction show in the future. That's right, boys and girls, Season 4 will not be the end as far as Stranger Things is concerned. But what do we really know about the upcoming seasons? Whether you're mildly curious or a diehard fan of Eleven and her crew of tatty teenagers, we advise you to stay tuned as we journey through some of the leaked information and assumptions of Stranger Things Season 5. Believe me, you'll want to see this. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. First, the real villains of the series. Recently, while discussing the confirmation of Season 5 of Stranger Things, the Duffer Brothers spoke a bit about the inherent evils of the show. We've seen everything from Demogorgons to Mind Flayers, but surprisingly, the real danger wasn't construed as something from the Upside Down, but rather something from the North. That's right, boys and girls. We are talking about the Russians. Believe it or not, the Russians were never actually supposed to be an overarching evil, but were used as a bit of a plot point early on in Season 1. You see, the Duffer Brothers had to find a reason for the American government to keep Eleven all locked up, and what better reason than to use her psychokinetic abilities to spy on the Russians during the ongoing Cold War. In fact, we also learn as far back as this season that the Russians are essentially trying to do the same thing to the Americans. It was through this rigorous spying that Eleven was actually pushed to the brink with her powers, ripping a hole across the fabric of our dimension, causing the Upside Down to slowly start bleeding through. While teasing us with Season 4 of Stranger Things, the production staff released two major taglines. One said, "From Russia with love," while the other said, "We're not in Hawkins anymore," giving the impressions that Stranger Things would be taking a bit of a break from exploring the underground world of Hawkins, Indiana. The teaser trailer confirmed this by showing that Hopper is alive and well, but captured and forced to work in an icy Russian encampment. We now have confirmation that where the Russians were nothing more than a plot point in Season 1, and nothing more than the side villain of Season 3, Season 4 of Stranger Things will see them becoming the main villains of the franchise. Does this mean that we are done with the Upside Down? Considering that the Russians have been shown to possess at least one Demogorgon, we doubt it. But now where both evils exist simultaneously, we will likely be shown that the monsters of the Upside Down are in actual fact being controlled by our neighbors to the north. Who knew that the greatest monsters of all time would be humans? The theme is likely to carry through Season 5. Next up, the end is in sight. The Duffer Brothers have always been pretty open and honest about their running of Stranger Things, and that regardless of how popular it would become, they would not milk it to the point of blandness. This, coupled with the fact that the showrunners have always believed in telling short storylines over and above large complicated ones, makes us believe that Season 5 might very well spell the end of the Stranger Things universe. All good shows must come to an end after all, or risk tarnishing their sterling reputations by overworking their cast members and writing staff to the point of disaster. Don't get us wrong though, as we will be incredibly sad to see Stranger Things go, but we would much rather appreciate what we currently have than watch in horror as the franchise falls into Game of Thrones Season 8 territory. Now, that would be a pity. Next, planned and ready. Fans of the franchise will be well aware that Season 4 of Stranger Things was set to grace our television screens back in April of this year. Due to the looming global health situation, however, things have been delayed for quite some time. In fact, filming for Season 4 was actually stopped for a total of 3 months and is set to resume in Atlanta, Georgia on the 17th of September 2020. From listening to the Duffer Brothers, it has become quite obvious, however, that they know exactly how Season 4 of the series is going to end, as well as what they would like to explore during Season 5. There is no doubt that the showrunners have taken this forced break in the filming to heart, not using it to rest like us normal folk, but rather to plan ahead and ensure that the remaining seasons are up to par. Now, what about the filming schedule? Having everything planned out already and knowing exactly where the franchise is going in the future is one thing, but means nothing to fans unless filming gets underway and there is no longer a delay with production. As we said earlier, Season 4 is set to continue filming in Atlanta in a few days' time, and will likely hit Netflix by early next year, depending of course on any further delays that the global health situation may cause. Netflix has also spoken up on the possibility of filming Seasons 4 and 5 of Stranger Things back to back, mostly due to the fact that the streaming service is concerned that the cast of the child actors might become too old for the characters they are portraying. Although this doesn't seem to be too much of a concern right now, throw in a few more long-winded delays and the struggle becomes real. As such, we can probably expect the filming of Season 5 to take place around March of next year, leading to the hopeful release of the season around Christmas time. Considering that the Duffer Brothers have a tradition of weaving their storylines through largely celebrated American holidays, such as Halloween and the 4th of July, this would not only stick to that tradition, but give fans the Christmas episodes they so desperately want. We have to mention the Russian program. As we said earlier, Season 4 of Stranger Things will be introducing the Russians as the main villains of the franchise and will likely show them dabbling with the Upside Down in an attempt to control the monsters residing therein. But wait, what about the Russian versions of numbered subjects, such as Eleven and her sister Callie, better known as 8? We know from Eleven's spy work that the Russians were also attempting to use special individuals to spy on the Americans. So will we be learning more about these subjects in the upcoming seasons? Unfortunately for us, the Duffer Brothers have remained pretty silent on what new characters we might be introduced to in the future. But considering the hate the showrunners received after the airing of the Runaway 11 episode, we can probably go ahead and draw a line through the introduction of fellow superhuman children. They were, after all, received quite poorly. Next, we have existing threats. Something else that we need to remember is even though the Russians are now being painted as the main villains of the franchise, that doesn't mean they will remain as such for the duration of Season 5. Essentially, we know next to nothing about why the Russians have been experimenting with the Upside Down. We assume it has something to do with reclaiming control over the Cold War and possibly creating an army of demo dogs and Demogorgon. But what if this is actually the grand scheme of the Mind Flayer? We forget that Eleven was unable to defeat the Mind Flayer itself, who has now been locked away once more in the Upside Down. By setting the Russians up as villains in Season 4 and carrying this over to Season 5, the possibility of a twist exists where the army of monsters is shown to not, in fact, be controlled by the Russians, but the Mind Flayer. The showrunners could even turn the tides of history by having the Americans and Russians team up to ultimately destroy the true threat once and for all, being the Mind Flayer. This is, of course, a complete assumption, but just thinking about it makes us incredibly excited to see what the Duffer Brothers have in store. Last but not least, the ending. Everyone has their own theory about how the Stranger Things franchise should be brought to an end. And as we said earlier, nothing would be greater than seeing our favorite characters face off against the Mind Flayer once more, but this time defeating it in a blaze of glory. Whether this is what the Duffer Brothers have in mind, we'll just have to see, but for now, let's think a bit about who we believe should bite the dust in the process. Yes, we know it would be great for everyone to live happily ever after and survive the big fight, but is this really what we want as fans? Wouldn't it be incredible if one of the characters had to essentially make a savior play, sacrificing himself or herself for the greater good of everyone else? All in all, fans would expect this of a character such as Joyce Byers, or as previously seen, Jim Hopper. What they would never expect, however, is to see this play being made by a character crucial to the franchise. But who should it be? Well, considering that Eleven is always making the savior play, it can't possibly be her. We think the majority of fans would also love to see her finally being able to live a normal life, be it in Hawkins or elsewhere. Will, however, has a personal vendetta against the Mind Flayer since it took over his body, almost killing him in the process. But unless Season 4 changes the fans' perception of him, we don't necessarily think his character carries sufficient emotional weight to support a savior play. The sacrifice of Mike, on the other hand, after possibly admitting once and for all that he has fallen head over heels in love with Eleven, might make the cut. Just think about the message this sends, with the Mind Flayer not being destroyed by Eleven's raw power, but ultimately with the love of a dear one. There is no sadder, more beautiful ending that we could ever come up with. Anyway, that wraps up the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.